It has been said that if a person wants to make it big as a professional mixed martial artist, the last person they should ever offend is the Ultimate Fighting Champion president, Dana White. He's the man you would like to be on your side. Despite that, various UFC fighters have spoken out about this particular man of influence and how he has treated them over the years. We have some really crazy stories here. Keep watching to find out how Dana White treats UFC fighters. Demetrious Johnson. American professional mixed martial artist and former UFC flyweight champion Demetrious Johnson made some shocking statements about the UFC boss Dana White while still part of the outfit. Apparently, Demetrious Johnson was the promotion's best fighter and UFC's greatest champion at that time. However, he was not afforded the benefits that came with such a title. However, these benefits were given to Conor McGregor, and this unfairness angered him. According to Demetrious Johnson, he was not treated very well at all. He said that UFC had bullied him into decisions that were not in his best interest. Demetrious Johnson also posted a lengthy statement concerning his treatment. He said, "I have decided to speak out now as I feel like my values and characters as a person and a fighter are being tarnished by an organization I have done nothing but sweat and bleed for over the last 7 years of my life. If it takes me speaking up and encouraging other fighters to band together to start getting fair treatment, then so be it." He further went ahead to emphatically state how Dana White had already forced him to take up a fight for which he did not agree to, while denying him any future pay-per-view points. Now, the UFC boss was forcing him to fight another fighter who was not in the same weight class or whose fight had no monetary upside to it. When he mentioned his reasons to Dana White, Dana angrily told him he would be fighting TJ Dillashaw, and even threatened to get rid of the entire flyweight division if Demetrious Johnson did not take up the fight. Furthermore, Dana said that this fight was for TJ's benefit, which angered Demetrious Johnson even more as his career was being used for the benefit of another fighter. This disagreement was not resolved, and Dana White went to the media the next day to announce that Demetrious Johnson would be fighting TJ Dillashaw, obviously in an attempt to bully him and tarnish his reputation. Luke Rockhold. American professional mixed martial artist and former UFC middleweight champion Luke Rockhold has put forth a claim that the UFC boss Dana White is a tyrant, and he also questioned the company's negotiation policy. Apparently, there has been a lot of pressure on Dana White to deliver a heavyweight title match between the current champion Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones. Jon Jones has understandably talked about wanting more money to go up to heavyweight, especially against the new champion what is likely to be a massive fight. However, these fights have not gone so well, and Luke Rockhold explained why this might be the case, claiming there are mafioso-type tactics at play. He told Rippin' It podcast, when asked about the differences between the MMA world and modeling, he said, "Fighting is like a mafia. They have these mafioso-type tactics in negotiations. They try to fuck with you. I'm not having any of it. If you do not know your worth, someone will tell you your worth, and it will be less than your worth. So know your worth." Once I lost the world title, Dana White came up to me and tried to beat me down mentally, and I was like, "Fuck you." Straight up. Speaking about how Dana White does business, Luke Rockhold called for some sort of governing body, adding, "We do not have the governing body. We've got an egotistical guy that is a bit of a tyrant. No one is going to try to fight you. You've got to put your ass on the line, stand your ground, take risks. Otherwise, you get treated like a bitch. It's unfortunate. A guy like that thinks he can fight. He thinks he is a fighter. I do not understand why he's trying to belittle all the fighters when you've never fought a day in your life. You're a promoter. We need a governing body to give people what they deserve. He does not play the game right." Francis Ngannou. Cameroonian professional mixed martial artist and current UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou has also come out to speak against UFC president Dana White, claiming he is being disrespected by the UFC and if he is really the champion or not following the interim title bout early August. This comes after Cyril Gane captured another version of the UFC heavyweight title following his fight with Derek Lewis at UFC 265. Dana White's decision to hold an interim UFC heavyweight championship clash angered Francis Ngannou, who is hit out at the promotion. Francis Ngannou feels disrespected by the UFC and calls the situation in the heavyweight division confusing in a damning assessment. He also added there is a lot going on behind the scenes. People do not see it, and they have their own opinion. Before my last fight, the UFC wanted me to sign some contract, and that contract was not right. I did not sign that contract, and I feel like they weren't happy about that. I signed a contract before, and it didn't play out very well on my end. So, in order to sign another contract, I think it's right to at least look out for myself and get what is right for me to fix whatever was the mistake in the previous one. And if someone doesn't believe they should fix their mistake, then that means that person is not looking for anything good for you. So even though Francis Ngannou said he'd be ready to defend his title in September last year, Dana White and co. opted to go for an interim title contest a month before. However, it appears that the current UFC heavyweight champion will face the interim UFC heavyweight champion in a monstrous unification bout soon, unless Dana White throws another spanner in the works. Jon Jones. It is nothing new that most of the current and old UFC fighters have issues with the negotiations relating to their contract and subsequent financial dispute. The same goes for this American professional mixed martial artist and former two-time UFC light heavyweight champion. Jon Jones has been lobbying for more pay for a while now, but he has become quite vocal about it in recent years. Jon Jones said that he does not feel like he was wanted in the UFC by Dana White and that he would fight elsewhere if he were released from his contract. He posted long streams of Twitter messages about the dispute following Ngannou's match against Stipe Miocic, and the messages all boiled down to the former light heavyweight champion wanting a better contract to move up in weight. He also went ahead to say, "I know so many guys that are living in Jackson MMA gym because they can't afford to live in their own apartment, and they're UFC fighters. So this is bad. If I have a bad relationship with Dana, sit out for 2 years, 3 years to bring light to what's happening, then these are the things people remember you for more than winning belts, to stand up for the younger fighters." Tito Ortiz. American mixed martial artist and former light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz is best known for his times with the Ultimate Fighting Championship, where he held the light heavyweight title from April 14th, 2000 to September 26th, 2003. Once upon a time, UFC President Dana White and Tito Ortiz were supposed to fight each other in a boxing match. It was that bad. Dana White does not always have the smoothest of relationships with the fighters on the UFC roster, and at times, it has escalated to arguments and even potential fights. Such was the case when Dana White and Tito Ortiz were supposedly scheduled to face each other in a boxing match. These two have a deep history together. For starters, Dana White once managed Tito Ortiz. However, that relationship soured when Dana White eventually became the UFC's president. It even came to the point that the two got into a full-blown fistfight on a private plane. Their relationship went awry when Tito Ortiz and Dana White had a contract dispute. Tito Ortiz felt like he was not being paid enough, which led to an argument between the two men. This caused Tito Ortiz to leave the UFC in 2005, but both men continued throwing barbs at one another in the media. Tito Ortiz, however, resigned from the UFC in 2006, but his new deal came with a caveat, which was a fully sanctioned boxing match of 3 rounds between Dana White and Tito Ortiz that would be broadcast on Spike TV. Of course, the boxing match never happened, with both Dana White and Tito Ortiz blaming the other for backing out. This aborted fight was still brought up as late as 2020, with Dana White claiming he had trained diligently for the fight before Tito Ortiz backed out, and he would have won the match if it had happened. The relationship between the two strained following this, with Tito Ortiz departing the UFC in 2008 before returning again in 2009. This time, Tito Ortiz stuck around till 2012 before retiring, only to emerge in Bellator a year later. This reignited the feud, with Tito Ortiz labeling Dana White a slave driver, and Dana White hitting back by calling Ortiz a moron and a buffoon. That ends this video. Let's hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get more updates on our next video. We'll see you next time.